Welcome to the Millennial Life Coaches podcast. At MLC, our mission is simple: add value to help you take on massive action towards your life goals. Here, we feature amazing coaches from all over the world, share compelling stories, and discuss proven practices to help keep your energy high and in the flow. Learn more about MLC at millenniallifecoaches.com.
Hello and welcome to another episode of How to Get Ahead with Millennial Life Coaches. I am your host, Tanya, and today I am joined by the incredible Kelli. Now, Kelli works with people going through divorce and kind of bigger transitions in life changes. So, first and foremost, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. Appreciate it.
Of course. And then second, let's dive into what that is. So when we say kind of the bigger life changes, that can encompass a whole lot. So I'll just let you explain it in your words.
Okay, yeah, sure. So just to kind of give you a little backstory on me, after going through my own very nasty divorce and basically having to rebuild my life, I was really out of resources. I didn't have the right tools. I didn't make the right decisions because when you haven't done that, you don't really know what you're supposed to do. So as I was going through that, I got the opportunity to become a divorce coach. And then I kind of followed that up with more intensive life coaching training because I wanted to be the help that I did not have and fill that gap. So that's a huge thing going through divorce. But then also my work kind of flows into other things in life that can be really hard to deal with. And you get to that point where you're like, oh, what do I do now? And it's beautiful work. It's the hard stuff. It's leaning into the hard stuff, but it's where you get the results and where you can turn those negative things into positive things and create it to be like the catalyst for something great.
I love that. And I love that you're drawing from past experience. Like I find when we've been there, it gives us that certain level of like, I understand where you're at and I have more guidance to provide as a result of that.
Definitely.
Oh,
Yeah.
I love it. Okay, so when you were going through all of this and it kind of was the catalyst that started things, obviously you've spun off into different types of life transitions. So what kind of areas do you work with people in primarily? Like I know divorce is a big one, but you had kind of said before we jumped on that there's a few other areas that you're able to
Lately,
guide.
yeah, lately I've had clients who are facing big changes. So maybe it's caring for parents, maybe it's heading into a plan for retiring and what they're going to do next in life. Maybe it's a job change, maybe it's job loss. That's been a thing too. And kind of trying to think what else we've had. I feel like I talk to people about a lot of different things.
I love that.
So yeah, just changes with kids, even big things that they go through stages of life and their children and how hard that adjustment can be. So yeah, it's pretty much any big change. I'm here for it. I'm here to dive in with you and be your thought partner and help you figure out what's next.
Oh, I love it. Do you find that when people come in, whether it's divorce or children in different ages or aging parents, is there kind of like a common starting point that people kind of hit when like these events come up that maybe like we all kind of have like the same feelings, emotions, reactions?
Yeah, it's interesting because one of the very first things I do when I work with people is we work on our values list, and
Mm.
I give them this massive list of values, but they can only choose five. And it is really thought provoking because it makes you think about, okay, who am I really? And so many things we identify with, like our job, like, whatever, our relationships, our friendship, and we don't really think about who we are at in the deep core of our being. And so that's where I start. No matter what change it is, I feel like when you bring it back to, okay, what do I really want? Who am I really? What matters the most here? You find a whole different level of clarity. So that's kind of like where everything starts with my coaching.
I love it. So it's very much more of that identity core rooted.
hmm
I love that. Um, why do you feel like the identity of it all? Because there's so many directions we can go with this, and I could nerd out for days. But how do you feel like getting really clear on that identity core piece impacts the progress that people have?
Well, in those situations where you are going through a big transition, especially like divorce and some of these other things, you tend to be in a very almost like a panicked kind of deal with things immediately. It's that trauma response level. So you really have to interrupt that and slow it down in order to take a moment and figure out what you want to do next. And just that piece of it where you can stop and think for a bit and kind of redirect that thinking out of that whole panic into the parasympathetic nervous system, it makes a big difference in your decision making, in the way you interact with people, being responsible for your own experiences, stuff like that.
I love that. Oh my goodness. Okay, so this values exercise. We're breaking it down. How many do we start with to get to five? I'm my read or my listeners out there, I'm assuming are like, okay, like maybe I want to do something like this. So this would be a really good test of where I'm at and what I truly value in life.
hmm I think my list it's about like maybe 50 different
Okay.
things. So it's very specific, but it's like, you get your basic ones that everyone will say, but then you trying to narrow it down to five is it's kind of hard because
Yeah.
there's a lot of there you'll be like, oh yeah, that's important to me, that's important to me, but then you'll end up with like 20. And I'm like, no, more. Get down further.
It's like the onion. You're like, you just got to peel away until you get to the top five.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Okay. How long ago, if you don't mind me asking, did all this kind of conspire for you, where you kind of started diving into this and really, what was your journey to get back to your values and your identity?
Yeah, no, that's a great question because if you are doing this type of work, you have to start with yourself. So, doing those things in internal focus and kind of then it's from the inside out to help other people. And so, for me, this all started probably back at 2021 when I was going through my hardest times. And I just finally, I was like, I have to make the decision. I can be bitter about all of this, or I can move forward and be better. And it was like just something went off in my head. And then when I found out about being able to train to help people through divorce, I was like, this is amazing, but I'm terrified.
Yeah.
So I did the course and I had to like be evaluated and do all this mentor coaching stuff so far out of my comfort zone. And I did it, but I loved it. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I can do this. And just that momentum that it started building and the confidence, I'm like, you know what? I love this work. I want to get in more. So then I did a year-long program with the life coaching and it just started kind of snowballing. I feel like my background is actually in health and fitness. And, I was a stay-at-home mom for a while there with my kids, but I worked part-time and nonprofit. So I feel like I've always wanted to do things that help people. But then all of it kind of came together to this perfect point where I'm like, this is what I meant to do. I'm certain of it.
MLC's community and network is built on integrity and value, and it really does help people succeed and get in front of the right people. And so with everything that I've experienced with MLC, all the work that I've done with them, alongside them, and the things that I have seen MLC do, I know that there is incredible power and potential in this platform and this community, and I can't wait to see it continue to grow. So far, it's been an absolute pleasure to be part of the community and to receive just the incredible support and resources that MLC provides.
Oh my gosh. So it's kind of like as you went through it, you were getting these like little nudges and hints of like, hey, like everything within me, your identity, was clicking into place to become this new version of you that's now able to help so many people with this.
So true. And I realize too, a lot is in your mindset too, of what you decide ahead of time. And I've learned a lot just about, I'm no scientist or anything, but a little bit about neuroscience and how the brain works and, those kind of things. And I realized I'm like, yeah, you know what? It's never too late. And you really do attract what you think and how you feel. And the more you can focus on bettering that, it's like your whole outer world changes at that point. And I just want to be able to share that with people and help them to get to that point too.
Oh, I love it. Oh, and it's so true. Like everything we attract just ultimately is because of who we are in the inside.
Mhm.
And I love how you phrase that. Okay, so walk us through a little bit about the experience people have while working with you. So we come in, we do your values, we get a little bit of an idea of what's going on, what the bigger problem is.
Mhm.
What kind of journey do we go on from there?
Yeah, so it depends on what you're trying to do and what, like for divorce coaching, sometimes that can go on for longer just because the process is very long. And it'll be specific to what you have coming down the pike in more practical sense. Now, in my more life coaching sessions and working through things that are difficult, sometimes it can be maybe 4 weeks. It depends on the situation too and what the person needs. I feel like I customize things a little bit more according to what you need because I'm flexible in that way. But you probably at minimum, we would do 4 weeks together, no matter what it is. And we would start with the values work. And then I try to hit on the mental stuff, the mindset stuff. Try to hit on the emotional side of things, the somatic things, how you feel things in your body. And then always, 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 what's the forward motion? What are you gonna, what small wins can you do right now, soon, in the next day, in the next 20, 48 hours, whatever. It just depends on, again, like what works for that person. So it's customized, but I do have kind of a framework that I work through.
I love that. I love that you said you include in the somatic side. I feel like a lot of people, when we dive in to coaching of some kind, we feel like it's either like we're working on our mind or we're working on our body, but we forget that it's such this perfect integration of the two. And somatic is such a beautiful way to do it. Maybe for our listeners out there that don't necessarily know what the somatic side is, would you elaborate?
Yeah, absolutely. So that's more focused on your body and tuning into how you feel and how you process feelings. So it can be something short and mild. It can be naming those feelings, maybe where it shows up for you in your body and kind of addressing that. But my goal with that piece of the work is to integrate it. So instead of resisting those feelings or fighting them, and you want to let them be there and sit with them and accept them and have compassion, because then it becomes part of who you are, but it moves through. And if you allow things to be felt for even 90 seconds, you'll find that they move through and it's not something you're stuck on and you keep going back to it. And I think that you, like you said, it's all beautifully interconnected. So if you do just mindset and you leave out the other part, it doesn't work as well. I mean, it might help some, but then it's everything working together, the whole complete, like everything synthesizes almost, where, okay, now if I really want to make change, there's a lot of small pieces where I can do a little bit of something and then it all starts to work together flowing. So
I love that. So then as we're working together with stuff, I guess, what are like 2 to 3 habits that someone could start to implement into their life that could start improving things right away?
one of the things that I love is how you treat yourself is a big one, and your internal dialogue. And I feel like, especially for women, this is a hard one. Because you don't want to seem like you're full of yourself or conceited. It's not that. It's like genuine love for yourself as a human. So I will sometimes do an exercise where I have you get a picture of you when you were a little child. It can be like 7, 8 years old. It can be younger. And my assignment is simply to put your picture up somewhere you can see it. And every night before you go to bed, tell your picture, I love you. Love your little self. And it makes such a difference, even though it's something so simple. I'm like, I wish I had been doing this all my life, like that. And it's just those little things like that. That's just one example. Some other things that have worked for me personally is I now meditate, and I'm very much an overthinker, over processor. And it took work to get me to even do it for a few minutes. And now it's something I totally look forward to. And it doesn't have to be 20 minutes, 2 hours. It can be 5 minutes. I usually will do it like 5 or 10 minutes in the morning to set the tone of what I'm trying to attract that day. And it does it when you start out with that in the morning, or maybe you end your day with that, where you just take a few minutes and try to think about, just tune into yourself and what went well and what you want to attract and what you want your life to look like. The more you think about it, the more you convince your brain to find all these ways that it'll happen. And that legitimately works. So, something small. The picture is one exercise. Daily meditation. Maybe it's putting a fun song on and dancing to just up your energy level. I love that too. So those are a few tips, but I love to share those, in my client sessions.
Oh my goodness, I love that. Oh, because they're so helpful. You're right, because it changes your state and regulates your nervous system in such a profound way.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Oh my goodness. What patterns do you see generally in your clients as they're coming to you, kind of when they're feeling like that stuck point or like things are not working the way we need to? I've got this moment or this bridge that I need to step over, but I haven't quite hit there. What kind of patterns do you start noticing within these clients, people that are going through these moment
That's
like
a really good
transitions?
question. Yeah, really good question. I think one of the main things that I see over and over again is limiting beliefs,
Mm,
like talking ourselves out of things because we've always told ourselves these stories, or maybe people in our family or our friends or someone mean one time said something, and we accept that and we believe it. And so we keep repeating that. And to challenge some of those thoughts and like break it down and say, hey, wait a minute. Is this even serving me? Who said this? You have to like question it. And I think when you come across to yourself, even as being curious about things, instead of like, oh, you're so bad for doing that, or being judgy, that's
mm,
where the real sticker is. If you're judging instead of like just being curious about it and like looking into it and being compassionate with yourself, like you would a friend, that's where some of those major things happen. It just starts out very small, but I do see a limiting beliefs right there is a big one. I mean, I
mm.
know it's true for me personally too, but I see it a lot with clients.
Fair. I love it. And limiting beliefs, like I've talked about this so many times with the stuff I've worked with, and definitely like how they can impact us and really filter how we see our world. So it's interesting, and I love that that was kind of what came up for you.
Mhm.
Um, let's kind of like let our listeners know, because at this point they're learning from you. They're like, okay, cool. How can they find you if they wanted to?
Okay.
Because we haven't talked about that yet.
Oh no, that's great. I have a website. It's kjsdcoach.com. And so on that, you'll find out more about some of the packages that I offer and also like frequently asked questions and free events that I do and stuff like that. Also, I'm on Instagram at KJSD Coach. I'm on LinkedIn. Yeah, and Facebook. So usually if you just search me, Kelli Sedwick-Drummond, you'll be able to find my stuff.
Fantastic. And we'll make sure we look all that into the show notes below so that you can get a hold of her if you are listening. I have another one for you. It's a big one. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
What is a question that people should be asking themselves more often, in your opinion?
What do you want?
Mm, I feel like this could spin into that whole permission conversation as
Oh my gosh,
well.
we could probably talk for an hour just on that. But yes, that's a big one because most people have a really hard time just saying and figuring out what they want. They either don't think about it or they've never really had to sit with that.
Mm,
And it's a good one.
it is. What are some ways, in your opinion, that people can start tapping into that, short of just asking themselves on repeat? I know when we haven't asked that, that block comes up of, I don't know, I don't know, I don't know. What are ways that we can start figuring out what we want?
This is a really effective one, I think, is if you can't figure out what you want, you certainly know what you don't want, and you
Mm.
can start there and work backwards. You can be like, absolutely not that and not that, and we're not doing that. But then it helps you really zone in, like, well, if I really don't like that, then what's the opposite of that? Well, it's a lot of thinking and a lot of sitting with who you are, but it's kind of fun to go through those processes. I think it's very interesting.
Love it. This one, I guess, kind of ties into it, but if someone listening right now is feeling that stuck stage, maybe their relationship isn't working and they're kind of staring down the barrel of divorce, or they know that things are coming, what should their first step be?
Take a breath. And second step is it's there's no shame in reaching out for help.
Mm.
And I think that one of the things I realized when I was going through just the pits of this, the way you even talk to yourself about that, I had a lot of shame. I had a lot of embarrassment. I had a lot of this stuff I was making up in my head. And I talked to someone and she said, don't be ashamed. You are so brave for going through that. And look at what you've done. And I was like, what? And I'm like, oh my gosh, I never looked at it that way. And all it takes sometimes is just one turning point like that. One thing someone says, one little shift in what you're thinking that can just change everything. So always take a breath first, give yourself a moment because any quick reaction usually isn't the best one. But other than that, like I wish that I had found a divorce coach. I wish I had reached out for the right kind of help, because I learned a lot of things the hard way, but also knowing what I know now, I'm like, it didn't have to be that hard. There's a lot of good resources out there.
I love that. And I think that does tie back into that whole giving permission that we had kind of hit on earlier, allowing yourself to accept where you're at and give yourself grace in those moments, because it happens. Like the divorce rate right now is what, 50%, give or take?
Mm-hmm.
So you're not in it alone, and having resources like a coach like yourself, I can see being such a beautiful asset in those moments.
Yeah, it really can change things, and it saves you money, it saves you time, it saves you stress. In the long run, like the right support at the right time is everything.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. We do have to kind of slowly start transitioning to the end here. However, I would love to know, what is some wisdom, thoughts, guidance, something you really want our listeners to know?
Wow, that is a great one. I love it. What
It's a
I
great
would
one.
want your listeners to know is they are valuable,
Mhm.
and everyone has gifts and skills and value. And to be able to really tap into that and believe it and live your life from that place just is such a beautiful thing. And when you start to do that kind of inner work where you're feeling that way more, you start to notice the beauty around you more. It changes everything. And so I think for me, again, a few years ago, I was not in this type of place. I was in a much darker place. But knowing what I know now, that's where it's at. Like loving yourself, caring for yourself, doing work to help yourself. You can't pour from an empty cup. Put the oxygen mask on and go and be your best self, and do things and take risks and live your life, because again, I mean, we get one go round, right? We want it to be great. And so even in the hard times, those can end up being a catalyst for something better, something good, something you never expected even. So don't give up, and just keep focusing on caring for yourself first, because I feel like everything else will fall into place.
That was amazing. And that was such a profound, like, truth, because I think, especially when you're going through the thick of it, we forget that the outcome is always a direction we need it to be, for whatever reason that is.
Yes, things do have a way of working out.
They sure
Yeah.
do. Okay, my dear, any last final words that you would like to share?
I don't think so, but thank you so much. This has been such a
Yes.
fun conversation. You're a joy. And
Oh,
yeah, no, I
thank you.
appreciate it. And anybody out there listening, keep your chin up if you're going through some hard stuff. It's going to be
Oh,
okay.
it is. You'll make it through you.
Yeah.
Amazing. Okay, well, this has been another episode of How to Get Ahead with Millennial Life Coaches, and we will see you on the next episode.